Alright, hey fellow beaders, I have a new tutorial for you. So I have this bracelet, I'm calling it the Saharan Nights bracelet, and I had a lot of fun making this up. It's pretty simple to make, and it is a one-piece bracelet, or a continuous piece I should say, so you're not making components and then connecting them together. It's just going to be a continuous piece. And what you're needing is a 4mm beads. I've got a fire polish, 8s, 11s, and some superduos. So I've got two different colors. And so to go over the colors, these fire polish 4mm are Purple Iris is the color, and these were purchased from Potomac beads. The 8s are right here, and these are from Aura Crystals, and it is Mayuki Duracoat Galvanized Champagne is the color. And the 11s are exactly the same color. I wanted them to match. So also purchased from Aura Crystals. And these are also Mayuki 11 Duracoat Galvanized Champagne. All right, and then for the colors of the super duos, you don't need to do two colors like I did. You can do one. But this, so here, this one here, or the one out on that side, is Opaque Violet, and this was purchased from Christina Jeffreys Gemstones. I got these from Amazon, but she is the seller, or the company that I purchased these from. And then the same for the other color. So this one is called Jet Metallic Suede Purple. So both in the purple family, and both purchased from the same person. So the bracelet is 7 components, and you're gonna need, I made 7 components, and this is 6.5 inches. So per component, you need 6 super duos and 7 of the 4mm fire polish. So in total, you'll need 42 of the super duos and 49 of the 4mm fire polish to make a 6.5 inch bracelet. And then you'll need some 8-0. So I'm using 8-0s 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Plus I've got another 6 on the clasp loops. So 22 of the 8-0 beads, and then, you know, a couple of grams of the 11s. And of course a clasp of your choice. I've got a lobster claw, but whatever you like works. And you'll need some fireline, or whatever thread you prefer. I'm using 6-pound fireline in the smoke. Okay, let's just go ahead and dive in and get started. All right, so to start off, we're going to pick up 6 super duos and 6 11s. And you're going to do that in alternating order like I have here. And then tie a knot. So just a square knot to make ourselves a nice little ring of beads. So you want to make sure the knot is between the super duo and an 11, of course. I mean, it's pretty much the only way it's going to work. So this is what it should look like. And then you're going to go ahead and go through all the beads again to reinforce. And then continue. I'm just going to continue through the beads. I'm not adding anything, just making my way around. And try to keep my fingers out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. So here we go. I'm almost there. Once we get to the tail thread there, we'll be there. So just a couple more beads. And now what I'm going to do is actually go through the 11, and then I want to come out of an 11. So I'm just going to go past the knot and then make my way out of an 11. And again, here's where we are. So I'm going to add the bead that goes in the center. So I'm going to pick up my 4mm fire polish. Now I'm holding the component this way. So the thread is going from the right to the left. It's coming out of the left side of this 11. So when you do this particular trick, what you want to do is then go to the 11 on the opposite side, and then you're going to go in from the left and come out of the right. And that will create a loop. With the beads. So there it is. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of push that towards the center, tighten up the thread, and then go back through the fire polish. And again, making sure there's no slack in the thread. And then once again, I'm going to go through the 11 from right to left. So basically the same direction that the thread was originally going. And moving everything out of the way, and I will move my fingers. There you see. So now it's secure. It's not going to fall out, and the whole thing, and it's such a nice, perfect little fit too. I just love the way that works. You should be able to use a bicone or a round bead to a 4mm is kind of what's important here. So I'm coming out of that 11, and now what I want to do is go into the next super duo. And then I'm just going to flip the work first, just because it's easier on my wrist. And then I'm going to switch into the second hole of this super duo right here. Just like that. And now I'm going to pick up those 4mm again and just go all the way around with them. So you'll need 6 because there's going to be 6 spaces to fill. So just pick up a 4mm and go into the next super duo. And let's pull that tail thread out of the way. I will cut that in a second here. And then again, right into the next super duo. So that is all you're doing. You're just picking up one bead and going into the next super duo. Again. And again. So after this one, we have 2 more. And the last one here. So go through the super duo and then go ahead and come out of the next fire polish. And I'm just giving everything a tug, and then this is what you should get. You should get this cute little component. I love the way that looks. I love the purple mixing in with the sort of the golds there. And then I am going to get rid of our tail thread. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to add the 11s. So pick up 3 11s and go into the next fire polish. You're skipping over the super duo. And this is what you should get. And then repeat all the way around. So we're going to do this 5 more times. Go ahead and pick up 3 of the 11s and just go into the next fire polish. And do it again. There's my 3 11s, and I'm going into the fire polish. How adorable is this little component? Pick up 3 and into the next fire polish. Three 11s, and I've gone into the next fire polish. And the last time, I've got my 3 and I'm going into the fire polish. Then what I'm going to do is just continue into the 11s. I'm going to go through 2 of the 11s. Well, I will in a second. My needle decided not to cooperate there. But here's what, once you've gone all the way around with the 11s, here's what your piece is going to look like. Again, I think it's super cute. So now I'll go ahead and continue through the next 2 11s. Now what you're going to do is grab a couple of the 8/0. So grab an 8/0, then an 11 and an 8/0, just like this. And you're just going to go back around that 11 that is in the middle. And we're making a little right angle weave unit, basically, is what you're doing there. And then you're going to go around again. So I went up the 8/0 into the 11, then down the second 8/0, and then into the 11. And I'm going to reinforce one more time, but as we do that, I'm also going to add the clasp loop. And so up into the 8/0, into the 11, and I'm going to do my classic diamond. So I'm going to pick up 4 11s. 4 of my 11s. Now I'm going to go back around this 11. Just like that. Go through the first 11. And then I'm going to use 8/0s this time to make the loop a little bit bigger. So pick up an 8/0 and go into the next 11. Pick up an 8 and go into the next 11. And one more time, what you're going to do is pick up the 8 and go into the next, those 2 11s there. So get a nice wider loop for your clasps. So now I'm just going to go back through all the beads again to reinforce. And almost all the way around. So let's see, I just got to go into this 8 and then into all these beads down here. Okay, there it is. And I actually think this would make a cute little earring. So if you want to make earrings to go with the bracelet, you can stop right here and tie off, and there you got a pair of earrings, and just make a second one. I am now going to continue down the 8/0s over here. And then into the 11, the next 2 11s there on the side, and then the fire polish. So now we got to keep building the bracelet. So I want to make my way to the 11 right over here. So we're going directly to the opposite side. Okay, so I got to go through these 3 11s. So I'm going to take my time with it though. I'm not going to rush and accidentally skip a bead or get the thread wrapped around something and then not see it right away. And that tends to happen when I'm rushing. So 11s, and we're almost there. Couple more 11s to go through. Fire polish. And the 11s again. Okay, and here we are. So for this next part, this is going to be very similar to the last bracelet we did. So when I was, this was the one we made last week, or the tutorial I did last week. So adding this on is actually very, very similar design, and actually this design inspired this one. As I was working on this one, I was like, oh, I could do this. Anyway, so now what you're gonna do is pick up an 8, an 11, and an 8, and you're gonna go back around just the bead in the middle. So we're repeating what we did on the other side, before we made the connector here. And then just go through all of the beads again. Always gotta reinforce, always needed. And then again, up the 8-0. We're just gonna do this one more time. And then back through the 8 here, or the 11 there, sorry. And then back up the 8-0 and the 11. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is pick up an 11 followed by a fire polish. And what we're gonna do is alternate. I'm gonna switch colors of my super duos here. And we're gonna be alternating between fire polish and super duos. So now it's a super duo, a fire polish, super duo, fire polish, super duo. Let's bring that down. So I'll show you what I've got so far. So I've got that other 11, and then I've got 3 fire polish and 3 super duos. So time for another fire polish, a super duo, fire polish, super duo, and a fire polish. So what I want to pick up is 5 of the super duo beads and 6 of the fire polish beads. And then we are going to add the 6 super duo, just it comes later. So when you're first doing this, this is what you're picking up. The last thing you want to add then is an 11-0 bead. So you start with an 11 and end with an 11. And once you have all the beads, what you're going to do is go back around just the 11 here. Just like that. And then reinforce all of the beads. So just take your time and go back through everything. So I'm just going through about 2 or 3 beads at a time, making sure nothing's been skipped. And almost there. So I'm halfway around the ring here. Now what you want to do is you don't want to go all the way around. You want to stop at this fire polish here, basically the last one as you're going through the beads. So as you can see, it's a little loose, but we'll fix that here in a second. So this is where I want to be. And you want to pull in the direction of the circle. So in this case, the circle is going clockwise, or my thread, so I'm pulling the thread towards the left. Now, as I said earlier, we have to add in that 6th super duo, so this is where that super duo goes. So pick up that super duo and then go directly from this fire polish to the next fire polish, and then into the next super duo. And that should give us all of the beads. In our ring. And now what we're going to do is push all the beads towards the center, the super duos anyway. Switch directions and go into the 2nd hole of the super duo here. And now pick up an 11, and you're going to connect all of the super duos with an 11 in between. So I'm going to go into this next super duo here, and then push the next one towards the center and pick up an 11 and go into that one. And then again, pick up an 11, go into the next super duo, and little by little it'll come together. So pick up that 11, go into this next one. We just got to add 2 more. Here's the next 11, and I'm going into the superduo, and I've got to connect one last one. And then I'm going to continue into the 11. And you just want to tighten that, push it towards the center for a little bit, and then just give the thread a good tug. And there you have it. So, and if they sit up a little bit, don't worry about that. They do flatten down as you continue. So if it just seems like they're not sitting completely flat, that's okay. It'll have that little bit of a dome cupping shape to it, but it does settle. Okay, so now we got to add the bead in the center. And so what you're going to do is you're coming out of that 11, note the directions. In this case, I'm going to note that my thread is going up, and I want to go to the 11 that's directly opposite, which is there. So I bring my fire polish down, and then I'm going to go down the 11. So I'm going in the opposite direction of the one in the other side. And there you go. And you can see it's flattened down. Then go back through the fire polish. And then back through that 11. So you're going back in the upward direction of the 11. And then through this superduo, just like so. And here's what we've got so far. So move that superduo out of the way. And there we go. Now what you're gonna do is go ahead and switch directions. Switch into the other hole of the superduo. And this could be a tricky, just because the fire polish will be in the way there. Don't worry about it. Get around it and then go into the fire polish. Okay, now we got to add the 11s to go around or over the superduo beads. So again, you're going to pick up 3 11s, and go into the fire polish, and make sure the thread doesn't wrap around anything, because I say that a lot because it happens to me a lot. And then again, pick up 3, and again, you're just going into the fire polish beads and nothing else. And I've got some 8/0s over here getting in the way. Picking up 3 of fire polish, or 3 of the 11s, and going into the fire polish. And again, I've got my 3 11s, and I'm going into the fire polish. And there's our second component all done. So now just all you're gonna do is, these 3 11s are actually already there because that's how you built the, started building the second component. Now you gotta make your way across to this 11 here, and you're just repeating the step. So we're gonna make this little center connector piece and then build our next component. So I'm just gonna go through the beads here. So there we go. And into the fire polish. So you can either go through the superduo and then the fire polish, or you can go through the 11s and the fire polish. Up to you, whatever path you want to take. I actually think it'll be easier to go through the 11s instead of trying to wiggle my needle between the superduos and all that, since I just put these beads on. Okay, there we are. And there's our piece so far. So now to add the next part, I'm going to pick up an 11, an 8, and an 11, and an 8. Actually, sorry, I did that backwards. It's an 8, an 11, and an 8. I was thinking there was one too many 11s there. Okay, there we go. And then go back through just that 11 and then reinforce. So we're going to go through it 2 more times. If you're using a slightly thicker thread, you may not need to do this the 3rd time around. Just depends on whether or not how filled the holes of the 11 get. So if you're using an 8-pound, the holes might get pretty tight because we do go through this 11 a few times after when we're adding the other beads on. So just something to bear in mind as you're building your bracelet. And now I'm back out of the 11. So, and then one more time, I'm just gonna go over what beads you need to pick up. So start with an 11, then a fire polish, and then we got 5 of the superduos. And then a fire polish, superduo, fire polish, superduo, and I want to make sure I get the 6 fire polish and 5 superduos together. So I've got 4 superduos, so I definitely need another one of those and 2 more of the fire polish. 1, 2, 3, 4, so 5, 6, and I've got my 5, and I end with an 11. Start with an 11, end with an 11, and then just go back through. And so there it is. And now you're just repeating the steps that I showed you on how to make this component earlier. So you're just repeating all those steps again. And you just want to keep going until you get to the end. The size of this component is just under an inch. So it's about like 3/4 of an inch. If I remember correctly, let's see, if I put it, just counting that, yeah, it's about 3/4 of an inch. It's probably hard to see on camera, but that's the 3/4 of an inch, give or take. So you probably, if you need a 6-inch bracelet, think about maybe doing 7 components or so. And, you know, so add an extra component depending on the inches. So if it's a 7-inch, you might need 8 components, etc. And of course your clasp will play a part in how many you'll need too. Anyway, just keep going. All right, so I have made just about the entire bracelet. I have one last component to make. And one of the things I wanted to point out to you is that when you add on all the beads and make this ring, before you go any further, one of the things you want to do is just push all the superduos into the center and force them to sit. And this will help you create the component to be flat. Otherwise, you won't get it to sit flat and it might sit up in a little bit curved shape. And that's okay if that's what you like. If you prefer it that way, then that's perfectly fine. But just wanted to point out that this helps the piece sit flat and it helps with the tension. So I'm just gonna tug on the thread a little bit and then I'm coming out of a superduo. So I'm gonna switch to the 2nd hole of the superduo. Whoops, put the needle through one of the beads there. So, and just again, see, and they will move out of position. So just be aware that that's gonna happen. And again, just push them back into place. And then you can add your 11s to connect all of the superduos together. So there it is. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up an 11 and I'm just gonna go into this next superduo right here. And just holding it down in place. And again, as you can see, they keep popping up, and just wanted to warn you about this as you're working on this. So it'll require a little bit of patience, but it's I think this is a fun pattern and it makes up fairly quickly, and depending on the colors, you've got a lot of color combinations that you can do with this. And I think this will make a great gift. So if you've got gifts to make, then these are fun and quick, and you can come up with a lot of designs for it. All right, so I'm off to add another bead. I'm just gonna rotate this so it's a little bit easier to get into position for this super duo over here. And keep going. So I'm just turning these over. And one little rotation. Also, if you hear any kind of tapping sound, there's some construction happening outside my home, so that is what you're hearing if you're wondering what that is. And last one to add. And I'm going to go through the super duo and the 11 there. And then just give everything a good tug, and you can go through all the beads again if that helps, to help with the tension, but you can see how now it's laying nice and flat. So what I'm going to do is add the center bead, the fire polish. So again, note the direction that your thread is going. So in this case, my thread is going down with the orientation. So when I go into this bead across here, I'm going to go up. So I've got my fire polish, and I'm just going to pop it down and then go up into the 11 here. Using my index finger there just to hold the beads in place. There you go. And then back through the fire polish, or whatever 4mm you're using. And then through the 11 again, and you're going to go through the 11 in the same direction that it was originally the thread was going. So you're going to go down into the through the super, or I cannot speak, into the 11. So and I'm just giving everything a tug to tighten it up. And now for the next part, what I'm going to do is go into the super duo and switch into the other hole of the super duo. And then you want to exit out of the fire polish, your 4mm. And I'm just going to go ahead and pick this up now. So, and then what you're doing is adding the 3 11s all the way around. So, kind of move these over so I can get to my 11s. So I've got my 3 11s, and you're just going into the next fire polish, and then repeat 3 11s. Fire polish, 3 11s, and into the fire polish, three 11s, fire polish, and one more time, 3 11s, and the fire polish, just like that. And then I'm just going to go through these 3 11s here, and I want to get to the 3 11s that are directly opposite over here, because we got to add the clasp loop at this point. So I'm just going to go through this last 11, the fire polish, all right, so now time to get into position. All right, so once you get here, you want to come out of the middle 11. So, and just to kind of, so we're doing this clasp loop over here to make sure it matches. And so the first thing you're going to do is pick up, these are my 8-0s, so I need a few more 8-0s. Looks like I've only got the 2. And so again, you're going to pick up an 8, an 11, and an 8. Go back around just that middle 11. So this is what you get. And then go back through the beads one more time at least. Actually, I will probably do this 2 more times. So this is number 2. And then go through it once more. Oh, I really hate it when the thread wraps around. Another part of the bracelet drives me crazy. All right, so I've gone around 3 times. So now I want to come out of the 11 that's at the top there and go through that, pick up 4 11s. And go back around just the 11 here, just like that. And go through the first 11. Pick up an 8, go through the next 11. And again, pick up an 8. Go through the next 11, and last time, pick up an 8 and go through 2 of the 11s. So just to kind of show you, I'm going through both of those 11s there and tightening everything so everything is in place. And then I'm going to go ahead and reinforce this. So go through the beads again. So in this case, you may need to go through the beads one at a time because of the way the 8s and the 11s are sitting. So the whole of the 11s gets a little bit blocked by the 8s because they're so much bigger. And so I'm going through each of these one at a time. And now through the 11s. Okay, so now what I want to do is actually I'm going to tie off. So I'm coming out of that 11 that's in the center there. Now go down into the 8. And then through the 2 11s and the fire polish. And I'm going to go through the 11s here, and then I'm going to tie a 1/2 inch knot. So I want to tie a knot between the 11s and the fire polish, and then pull the knot into the fire polish. Okay, and then I'm through, and then go into the 11s. So I just did 2 knots. I'm gonna do 1 more here after I come out of these 11s here. And then just weave your thread away, so don't trim it close to the knot. And I am just gonna go through a few of these beads and then trim. All right, last bead, fire polish here, and I'm gonna go ahead and trim off the thread here. So, and that's how you would close, you know, if you were needed to add thread, basically you're doing the exact same thing. So first tie off with a couple of 1/2 inch knots, and then I always add thread like I did here with 1/2 inch knots again. So I always put a stop bead at the end of my thread when I'm adding the thread, and then tie a bunch of knots, and once the thread is secure, I take off the stop bead. So in case you've wondered how to go about doing that, that's just the simplest way to do it. All right, so let me go ahead and add the clasp. I'll be right back, and there's our finished bracelet. All right, here it is. Here is my completed bracelet. So I ended up doing 7 components to get my 6 inches. So if I line this up here at the front and bring it down, it's a little bit bigger. So I did 7 components, and then with the clasp loops, it comes out to about 6.5 inches. So just to kind of give you an idea of how big it is. So the bracelet is 6.5, a little bit longer. It's a little loose on me, but that's okay. I can still wear it and it's not gonna fall off. It just sits a little lower on my wrist. I tend to like the bracelets a little bit higher, but that's okay. I can still wear it. And I think it's really fun bracelet to make. I think you'll have fun just making it and coming up with all the combination of colors. Well, I hope you like this, and I will see you in the next tutorial.